Could be very short, just to, I don't know, just to.
No, that's cool. Yeah, I'm down. We'll do it then. Okay, hello world. Podlayer team is back again. We're working on track 2 voicing, where we go over the basic principles of Podlayer and break them down, make sure we know how they all work and how they work together. We like to do so in little nugget chunks we call beats. Today, I'm Nyy'xai Coach, and I have with me Nyy'xai, Ben, and Glenn. Mitchell will be joining us a little later. And we are finishing up today the Nyy'xai Fundamentals. And the Nyy'xai also happens to be our unconscious genius. All right, so today the last 2 beats will be the High Stakes Priestess and Nyy'xai Role in the Revolution. All right, let's get to it. So Ben, you take lead here, the first one. How does the polar position of Vi of the Nyy'xai relate to the High Stake Priestess spirit form? How does this affect the way the High Stake Priest or Priestess use? I'm going to say Priestess, so I'll keep saying both.
Oh, okay. So are we at the top of High Stake Priestess?
Yes.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, we can do our best. We can do our best to get through the whole thing. I'm not entirely sure because in the past couple times we've been getting as far as we can. So
I think it might be able to because we had this last meaty one, but I think the Role in the Revolution might be a bit easier because we.
Yeah, I think so too.
It's going to be a lot similar to the Nyy'xai one, so we'll see. Okay. How does the polar position of the Vi of the Nyy'xai relate to the High Stakes Priestess spirit form? How does this affect the way the High Stakes Priestess uses Vi? What is the specific relevance of the term High Stakes of the High Stakes Priestess spirit form? What is the specific relevance of the term Priestess of High Stakes Priestess spirit form?
The Vi of the Nyy'xai is outranked and influenced by Nyy'xai Z, so it is very fetishy in nature, but spot on when called for taking the form of the High Stakes Priestess / Priest. This means that the Nyy'xai will use their Vi in fewer instances, less frequently, and in a narrower and customized way, but correspondingly the Vi will often then be extra focused and potent because it wouldn't be called on unless it was really needed. The high stakes refers to how Vi helps the Nyy'xai pay attention to what is most important and what is the stated mandate of a given practical situation. There is a priestess vibe to this because the meticulous attention to detail is oriented towards magical humanistic challenges that Nyy'xai wish to excel at and take responsibility for.
Intense.
Just a minor change that might be a good idea is to, in the second sentence where it says fewer instances less frequently, it might be a good idea to put a comma after fewer instances because that way it specifies a list as opposed to just a single thought. So this means Nyy'xai will use it Vi in fewer instances less frequently.
Where's this at? Oh, okay, here we go. Second sentence. This means that we use it.
So basically to show that it's basically a list of items, so fewer instances less frequently and in narrower and customized way.
Oh, I see. Yeah, that's a good point. Okay, so I'll put a comma before and after less frequently.
Yeah, it may not need to be after because that's what's known as like the Oxford comma. It's kind of like an optional thing. I think, like, is it
Yeah,
like
the one when you say and the one that usually you don't put the comma there
sometimes people do with the and.
before
I
the
think
and.
the it's known as the all I know is it's known as the Oxford comma. It's sometimes used, sometimes isn't. But
Right. But
Mm.
I'll put it after instances then.
yeah, that's the one I'd suggest. Not that it's a good thing. Hmm. Another possible change is to, instead of saying less frequently, maybe say with less frequency, I guess. And I guess the reason for that is parallel structure. That we have a word between, I don't know.
These are probably fewer things.
With less frequency. Oh,
Yeah,
it's sort of like tags along on the first bit, right?
yeah. It's I think that's it's more parallel, so I guess it can sound better, but it might not be what you want. It's certainly not necessary, but
No, that sounds cool. Because it's still basically the same. Just across. It sounds a little smoother.
Yeah.
Cool. Updated.
But this is Vi. Do we want it to be smooth like that, or do we want it to be? Do we want it to be like pop, pop, pop? And this, and this, and this.
Nonsense.
I heard that.
Oh, yeah, it's one of those ads on the side. I've been watching
Mm.
Olympic coverage. Olympic coverage, they always try to tag in other stuff. The story I've been following is that weightlifter dude from the islands who does like shiny baby dances after all his lifts.
I haven't gotten into the Olympics yet, so I'm like, they should have the UFC in the Olympics, though. That would be good, maybe.
Used to back in the ancient days, but I guess maybe it's not PC.
PC?
Politically correct these days.
Uh,
oh, to what?
Mixed martial art combat. I mean, they have boxing and they have judo and they have taekwondo and they have wrestling, but
MMA seems like it's the most complete form of fighting, though, doesn't it?
it does.
Yeah.
That may be why they don't like it. It's a little too close to a fight.
Yeah, but it's the most natural law kind of fight that you can have, right? I mean, jeez.
I'm sure if it continues in popularity, then that discussion will come up.
It's more realistic in a sense than like boxing, which only uses the hands, and than taekwondo, which is like its own kind of thing.
Yeah, that's the thing in the boxing. They use puffier gloves in general in boxing to cut down on cutting. But then in the Olympics, they use even puffier gloves, I believe. So I think there is a general like aversion to things
Blood,
blood. Yeah.
gore, anything that makes it seem like it's like a gruesome sport or anything. They
Right.
want to remove that as much as possible and make it just clean, polished, and this is the Olympics, like that sort of vibe. This one's quite meaty.
You can do it. Use the force.
Yes.
Of course. I said with, challenge accepted in my voice.
Nice. But yeah, these the spirit form ones are I think the chunkiest.
Mm-hmm.
The Vi of the Nyy'xai is outranked by Nyy'xai and Z, so it is very fetishy in nature, but very focused and spot on when it's called upon. Um, as this relates to the high stakes priestess spirit form, the Nyy'xai, Taylor Mitchell, will use their Vi less frequently, and overall they will be less vested into it in general. However, during certain key moments when they're fetishing on it, they'll get really into it, and thus they'll be extremely potent at it and very focused in those key moments often. As this relates to the focus on the high stakes aspect of this is effectively that the Nyy'xai will make a great deal of investment of their energetic resources go into their polar power of Vi to do it very effective and to fetish on it, and thus this creates a great deal of investment of their resources being gatherers and modulating their source power of Ni, gather power. So it's like they're betting a lot of their resources on accomplishing the Vi focused Vi that they're called upon with their high stakes priestess. The priestess aspect of this is that the resources that they're investing are magical and humanistic in nature, thus creating more of a spiritual bent to their fetishy use of Vi. Was that good? Or
Are we waiting for something?
The coach is weighing it right now.
So it's
Yep.
oh, he can't hear us. I knew there was it says there's something a little bit off.
Make sure come back off. Go back on. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay.
oh, could you hear me before, Coach? When I was I delivered the.
Oh no, I'm sorry, I didn't. My bad.
Yeah, it looked like you cut out
Oh.
there. Yeah.
Apologies.
Okay, should I do it again, or it might still go through the actual video, but I'm not sure if.
It probably will.
But I mean I don't want to go through if that wasn't good enough or if I missed something.
Oh gosh, so bad.
I thought I hit all the points, but I wasn't
You guys
entirely.
are here. Did he hit all points?
Did it sound
Yeah,
like
I
I
I
didn't?
have,
so.
I have no idea. I didn't even know what he was doing.
Glenn, you had the book open. Did he get
I feel like he did. Yeah, but I mean, it's up to you whether or not you want to do it again, Ben. I don't know. Do you think that might be necessary or?
Maybe I should just try to do it again since
Okay.
it's fairly fresh in my
Appreciate
head.
it. Sorry for that. Sorry for that.
No, no, it's good.
It's tech issues, not your, no one's fault.
Yeah.
Annoying.
So what are we doing?
Okay.
We're doing Vi.
Doing the
Is that what we're doing?
yeah, the first beat for Vi, High Six Priestess.
I'm so late. I'm trapped at the turn.
What's the difference between less frequently and less? What was the other part there? Less frequently and in fewer instances.
Okay, so I believe in fewer instances is referring to the kind of instances. So you have, like, say, instance A, B, C as far as a category of instance.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be more fetishy, meaning that they won't use it in as many varieties of instance. So it'll be less frequently in general, but also they will have a more specific or fetishy usage as far as what instances they would actually use it in.
All right, so it's very, very like specific, basically.
Right. So, like, say for example, like Nyy'xai may fetish on some kind of poetry and history. So in general, they're not going to use their Vi as much. That's the less frequency thing. But then also, they're not going to necessarily use their Vi in instances that do not relate to their interest in poetry and history. Other kinds of Vi instances, they're like, I'll let that ball go by. I'm not interested in that.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it kind of does. I'll do a little bit more research on it.
A short one, basically, fewer categories of Vi usage will be interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So, of all
I'm
the,
kind of. Does it sort of mean like if a Nyy'xai might fetish on painting, for example, but within the painting, there's only certain things that they're actually like really are focused and honed in on. Does that make sense? So it's like very specific within the the thing that they're very.
it kind of relates to this, which is their Vi would maybe only want to do a Vi fetishing, let's say once a week. That relates to the frequency level.
Okay, I got it. So it's more like okay.
Well, the painting you brought up would actually be an instance it would be into, but other instances are like, I'm not interested in using my power in that way.
Right. So yeah, it takes energy for them to like be able to get into their Vi just at all. But then when they do get into their Vi at all, then it's on very, very specifically things that they're fetishing on.
Exactly.
Right.
Are you ready, Ben? I'm
Oh yeah. I'm ranking. With the Nyy'xai having Vi as their polar power, it being outranked by Nyy'xai and Z, it is very fetishy in nature, but is very potent and effective and narrow when it is used. In the way that the high stakes priestess uses Vi for the Nyy'xai, there is a less frequency of use with Vi. It is used less in less instances, and it is used more narrowly. However, it is, as a result, in the way it is used, is much more focused and potent. In the way that this relates to the high stakes priestess being high stakes, the Bai is used critically when it is most important to use it. Thus, it is higher stakes when it is used. Where it is effectively the best, the critical level to bet on, basically, because it costs a lot of resources for them to use their Vi with them having Ni as their source power, gather power. So naturally they gather resources, but then there's certain resources they bet their Vi on, basically, as a result. As this relates to high stakes priestess being or a priest or priestess, what they are investing are resources that are more magical and humanistic in nature, thus creating a more spiritual bent to the way their high stakes priestess, the way they use their Vi.
Okay, nicely done. Mitchell?
I don't have the questions.
Oh,
Should I go, Coach? I think it would only make sense.
Yeah, you can go first.
sure, let me just copy and paste into the chat again.
Thank you very much.
There you go. And then Glenn, go ahead, and Mitchell can go.
Yeah.
All right, so the position of Vi being polar for the Nyy'xai means that it's going to be a kind of Vi that's very heavily influenced by their source Ni, tandem Zhai, and the offside Z. So it is the fourth rank power, and therefore it has the least sway in the overall ranking of the entire psyche, but still nonetheless is a power that the Nyy'xai use very often, or not very often, but still a power that the Nyy'xai uses. But it's used very infrequently, and it's done in less instances and with a much more narrow of a focus, given that it's their fourth rank power, and fourth rank powers tend to be very, very fetishy as a result of that positioning. The way in which they use their Vi is...
I think you actually did get that. I think you answered.
Okay, yeah. All right, and so when it comes to the specific relevance of the term high stakes, it has a lot to do with the fact that whatever it is that the Nyy'xai happens to, use their Vi on, it's going to take on this very serious quality to it, and it's going to go along with this sort of like mandate given all their other powers, and they're going to funnel all their energies through their Vi into achieving whatever it is that that very practical hit point that they're trying to hit on, whatever that might be, whatever case it might be. So that's related a lot to the high stakes part of the high stakes priestess, but also when it comes to the priestess part of it, it has a lot to do with the very poised quality a priestess kind of brings to bear on any kind of given occasion. It's very meticulous and detail oriented, and there's elements of sort of like, I guess, tradition, I guess you could put into it as like a flavoring, but it's very, very heavily influenced by the Ni and the Zhai, which adds a very magical humanistic quality to it. And whenever the Nyy'xai use their high stakes priestess, it allows them to really excel at whatever it is that they're trying to do, and do very, very well, and in a very on-point kind of manner.
Okay. Mitchell?
Oh, I see. Okay. So the polar position of Vi relates to the high stakes priestess spirit form of the Nyy'xai because the Vi is going to be heavily sort of flavored, I guess, or layered over with their higher powers, their higher rank powers. So their Nyy'xai and there's Z, and this makes it used in a kind of fetishy way. And what that means is that it's going to be used in fewer instances, less frequently, and more in a more narrow and kind of customized way. But correspondingly, its Vi is going to be especially potent and focused in its use because it's not going to be called upon unless it's needed. The specific relevance of the high stakes in the high stakes priestess is that it causes the Vi causes them to pay attention to the absolute most important things or practical mandates in a situation, kind of feel the weight of that. And then the priestess part of it is that the meticulous attention to details oriented towards the magical, humanistic challenges the Nyy'xai wish to undertake.
All right, next one up. You'll take lead on this one, Mitchell.
Sure. 2 in a row.
Put a row.
We can do it.
All right, how does the high stakes priestess help maximize the Nyy'xai peak pathway? How does it impart necessary limitations? How does the high stakes priestess relate to dealing with the worldview map priority? How does this relate to the form of help the high stakes priestess tends to provide?
How does the high stakes priestess? Oh wait, actually, I'd read it first. The Nyy'xai high stakes priestess has practical planning and deliberate, consistent reasoning for taking actions that allows the Nyi dreams and Nyy'xai desires of the Nyy'xai to reach real-world, long-term fruition. Nyy'xai use their Vi when they need to limit their normal momentum, cross-contextualizing and abstracting to really focus in on something specific and maintain this focus. This gives the Nyy'xai high stakes priestess or priest a comfortability and capability at being in control of something that has singular importance. As a part of this, the Nyy'xai use their Vi to insist on standards of excellence, so the high stakes priest or priestess has a rather fastidious way of being of help. Okay. So the high stakes priest or priestess helps to maximize the Nyy'xai pathway because it uses planning and deliberate, consistent reasoning to allow the Nyi dreams and Jai desires of the Nyy'xai to reach long-term fruition. Kind of. It imparts necessary limitations because the Nyy'xai are naturally more in a state of abstracting or cross-contextualizing, as their natural state. And so they can, when they're in their high-stakes priest or priestess mode, really focus in on something specific and not jump around that way or go to the more general case. The high-stakes priest or priestess really still in the worldview map because it gives the Nyy'xai the ability to be in control of situations and to focus on something that has a singular importance. And as part of this, part of the help that the high-stakes priest or priestess tends to give is particularly fastidious help because it insists on standards of excellence that relate to its particular vi.
Got it. Glenn, you're up next.
All right, just a moment. All right, so when it comes to the high stakes priestess and its ability to maximize the Nyy'xai peak pathway, it's very much related to giving the Nyy'xai the sort of tools that they need with practical planning, as well as being consistent and giving that, like really long-term follow-through, so that they're able to bring their Nyi dreams and their Jai hopes and desires into some kind of like actual fruition in the real world. Otherwise, it would just be ideas in their head and like desires. But the Vi definitely helps to sort of make that to really put those railings in, so that they're able to then do the steps necessary in order to get to where they want to be. It also imparts necessary limitations, although they're not necessarily limitations, they're more like maturing and heroic maturing necessities that need to be placed for the Nyy'xai, in the sense that the Nyi can be very abstract and can cross-contextualize a lot of different ideas on a lot of different things. The Vi really gives the Nyy'xai something to really focus and hone in on, to work with a given sort of like a specific area that they can really go Nyi crazy on, I guess you could say, and really delve into that on a very deep level. And that gives them the comfort of knowing that they're working on something that's really, really important, and it also gives them the comfort of knowing that they're grounded in a certain sense, because Nyi can sometimes be all over the place on so many different things. Really having the Vi helps to sort of center them and ground them on something that they truly hold value, so valuable that they are truly like committed to it. This is related to their worldview map priority in the sense that actually, I'm not sure about that part.
Do you want to let Ben go and you come back for a second try?
Sure.
Ben, are you ready to go, or do you need more time too?
I'd probably take like another minute to
All right.
read over it, but
Why don't you go ahead and just get that one bit and jump back into it?
All right. Actually, I'm not sure where in the beat it talks about the worldview map specifically.
It infers it by talking about the comfortability of being in control of something that has singular importance.
I kind of hit on that then, didn't I? I mean,
Okay. Yeah, I think you actually did, but I was kind of lumped in with the talking about the limitations.
yeah. Okay.
No, no,
All right.
not, no. If I,
I'll do it again. Yeah. No. No. That's good.
that's totally fine though, isn't it? Like, doesn't matter when you say it. It's just
no, no, no.
it's gonna.
Yeah, but that's probably why it didn't register. Do you want to just pick up from that question? Just clarify that question and continue on the rest of it?
Yeah. Let me just get that last little bit too. Right. So yeah, it's related the worldview map in the sense that it gives the Nyy'xai a sense of comfortability in whatever it is that they happen to be very intently focused on with their Vi, to sort of follow through on and work towards getting that groundedness that they and planting their feet on something, because that's it helps the knee sort of like it reins in the knee, but in a proper way. Although it should be done in a
It's true that this is that's still touching on kind of the limitations angle. The thing
Okay.
with the worldview map is specifically the comfortability with, I guess really I mean put the word in there, but the comfortability with singularly important responsibility. Gather powers are good at dispersing, but when something becomes the thing to do, a lot of times that frightens it. It's very foreign to their way of thinking that all the eggs are in one basket. Worldview map powers are more comfortable with this is the supreme basket that must be whatever done with. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so there's a comfortability that comes with the Vi being very heavily committed to something specific, and because normally the Nyy'xai doesn't have that. They tend to be more scattered, not scattered, but like they had to then have not as much of a commitment to something in specific. Yeah, and also I guess I'll just jump on from there, which is the last bit, which has to do with standards of excellence. How does this relate to this form of help the high stakes priestess tends to provide? Yeah, the high stakes priestess will provide a kind of help that's very, very, very related to very high standards of excellence, and so it can seem very fastidious in a certain sense, but it's only because of the fact that it's trying to make sure that the point that's being trying to get across is being hit on, and nothing less than that is going to be able to get you there. So I guess that's related to how Nyy'xai can be very great teachers in a certain sense too, because you won't earn that gold star unless you actually do the thing that was required specifically.
Yeah, teachers also caretakers.
Caretakers.
But on that one point, just to clarify for everyone, is that the worldview map is generally the gatherer powers have a more, because they both are about gaining stuff, they have a more diversified stock portfolio way of coming at things, which makes them feel strong. But say leveraging most of your assets to take over a company, that's like a singular move that's going to be placing most of what you have on the table. The Nai and Vi are more comfortable actually going about gaining things in that way, putting all the eggs in one highly targeted, highly focused push. So both very valuable, but they make each other, not ironically, but they make each other nervous. The worldview map powers find diversification. It feels like it's dissipating their strength. Where
Right.
gather power skill to the worldview map powers, it's scary. Kind of going back to the MMA discussion, putting everything based on this win. Like if I win, I'll get this huge thing, but if I lose everything. Nine Vi are comfortable with that, making very well thought out moves, and then putting like all their chips on that move.
Mm. It's so natural for us, though, right? It's just sort of like, yeah.
But
It's like either, yeah.
Ben,
I,
you're up.
either you get it or you don't. But it's sort of like this is the thing that I'm going to be doing for the rest of my life, kind of thing.
Yeah, I find the diversified portfolio more frightening. Me being a hunter, because I'm like I'll lose track of that. That's too many. That's too many tendrils to keep track of. But we're not naturally jugglers. The gatherers are.
Yeah, it's kind of like, oh, I gotta go there and then I gotta go here. You know, it's very much related to sort of like multitasking, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because
we don't really have a strong sense of like the opportunity that's like out there, you know? Like it's we understand and conceptualize with our worldview, but like as far as like expanding it to like anything that can possibly be out there, it's just it's very
Yeah,
difficult for us to maintain confidence in that when we don't have that sense.
yeah. It's kind of very much is related to sort of like when you're out there in the world, sort of like good things will sometimes happen to you, bad things will sometimes happen to you, and you're just like, okay, I'll just roll with it.
You know?
I think it has a lot to do with a sense of control. Actually, giving themselves over to the environment, kind of for gatherers, makes them feel in a good way. I'm not really responsible for the outcome. The outcome will come from the environment, and I have faith in that. Hunters come at it differently, which is I don't really have faith in the environment. I have faith in myself on a trail. So if I follow the trail, I'll get what I want. But gatherers are like, but that means all the weight is on you. But I was like, yeah, I've heard that.
Yeah.
Ben?
Nice. All right.
Yes, the
Hold on one
responsibility is all on
sec.
me, but I don't have to relate. I don't have to rely on the environment.
Hmm. Sometimes the environment has the better answer, though, and that's sometimes when the hunter, you learn something new there. It's sort of like I was doing it this way, but then actually everyone else is doing it this other way, and that's actually way smarter than what I was doing. It's kind of embarrassing when that happens, but yeah. It's like, dude, why are you doing it that way? It's like everyone else is doing it this way. Oh, blush.
Better be ready, Ben.
The Nyy'xai high stakes priestess with their deliberate planning or with their proper planning and uh, deliberate practical uh, reasoning, uh, they, uh, they can use that to help guide and bring their Ni dreams and Jai hopes and desires to fruition, long-term fruition. This imparts a necessary limitations to their Ni gather power in particular, it modulating their Ni and thus allowing them to focus on something specific. The Nyy'xai are gatherers, so naturally they are going to be more open-minded and less about focusing on any one thing in particular in general. But when they're in their high-stakes priestess state, they're more in a hunterish mode, focusing more on one thing in particular with their Vi, and thus they can take pleasure in those situations of being in control in a very fetishy way. The the Nyy'xai high stakes priestess can be a great deal of help using their powers of proper planning and standards of excellence to be a fastidious help to help guide people, perhaps in a particular direction, um, and to help give important details they're using with their buy, or help them recall and plan.
Yep. Nice. All right. Next beat. Stay on. I think we might be able to do this, guys. Gotta stay focused. We can do it. How does the high? Oh, and Glenn, you'll take lead in this one. How does the high stakes priestess relate to poise? How does the high stakes priestess relate to the overall bearing of the Nyy'xai? How is this related to having a sense of sureness? How does this relate to the way Nyy'xai conduct themselves?
All right. So the Nyy'xai High Stakes Priestess uses the fourth ranked Vi to harness the natural, irreverent buoyancy and bobble of the Nyy'xai into a precise, practiced poise. Vi allows the Nyy'xai to know with certainty that comes from verifiable data what the landscape is of whatever important endeavor they are engaged in, giving them an air of knowing. As a part of this, Nyy'xai have a sense of sureness and absolutism that comes when their Vi knows it has the right direction, which is in contrast to their natural open-minded and relativistic way of being. The Nyy'xai High Stakes Priestess is all about being dialed in and on point when you know how things are and should be. All right. So the high stakes priestess is related to poise because it allows the Nyy'xai to take their naturally very buoyant and their natural buoyancy and their bobble, and take those energies and stylize them, or sort of like take them in a way where they're able to then use them and apply it into a very practiced poise, which gives them a sort of like a very sure, a much more sure quality to their bobble and their buoyancy. This relates. How does the Nyy'xai relate to the overall bearing of the Nyy'xai? This relates to the overall bearing of the Nyy'xai, given that naturally they're much more. They tend to have more of a relativistic kind of quality to them, much more open-ended, just sort of like. Actually, I want to do that one again.
And you can phrase it however you want. The key word you're looking for in that one is certainty.
Yeah. Okay. So the high stakes priestess is related to poise because it'll take the natural, buoyant, and bobble-like energy that the Nyy'xai has and sort of take it into a much more of a practiced poise that gives them much more of a sureness to their footing in a certain sense. And this is related to their overall bearing because it will give them a sense of certainty that comes from knowing with verifiable data what the landscape is of whatever sort of important endeavor they're engaged in. And it lends itself to a sense of knowing, an air they'll have about them of like I know what the answer is. I know what I'm supposed to do. I know what the right actionable step is to take. This is related to their sense of sureness, given that. Yeah, I think I hit that point. Did I?
Yep. You kind of tagged on an earlier one.
Yeah, and how does this relate to their overall being? Well, okay, so the high stakes priestess is all about knowing what needs to be done at any sort of given moment in time when they need to use their Vi in that very, very specific and very pinpointed way, and being able to get the job done, whatever it might be, with a sense of sureness and of a sense of certainty and a quality that is really something that comes from having that very, very absolute-minded quality and it's a hunter power, but they're not hunters, but they can definitely use that sort of very exact, focused, honed-in quality in order to get the job done, basically. And that's kind of what it's all related to, the Vi High Stakes Priestess for the Nyy'xai.
Yep. Good. Ben?
All right. Just I'm gonna take 1 minute to just review because I I know I've done enough in total, but it's just looking at right before I find very important.
No worries.
Yeah, kind of need to go over it, overview.
The Nyy'xai High Stakes Priestess, with the Nyy'xai having their natural buoyancy and fluttery aspects of their movement and so forth, they in most cases aren't going to be so held held in one place, but the Vi sort of creates a poise for them so that they can position themselves finely and precisely in key moments. The Nyy'xai can, in the way the Nyy'xai with their Vi, they develop a great amount of key specific knowledge with their Vi, their understanding of verifiable data, their sort of map of the landscape of what they might be focusing on. And this creates an air of knowing for them as a result. This in turn adds a sense of sureness in that they, having this air of knowing, they are very sure about themselves, and you can see that they are sure about what they're focused on. So it's not just that they know about, but they're also sure about talking about it, about that this is the case, etc. The Nyy'xai high stakes priestess and the way they conduct themselves, it is naturally focused and dialed in, whereas this may not commonly be the case. It is when they are in this high stakes priestess mode that they get into this state.
Yep. Got it. On the sureness, you basically touched on it, but just kind of highlight that there's a comfortability with basically operating from a position of absolutism, which is normally a bit foreign to them.
Sure.
But you basically said that. Mitchell?
Alright, the high stakes priest or priestess relates to poise because the Nyy'xai are going to use their Vi in this state to harness the natural buoyancy and bobble energy from their movement into a kind of precise poise. And this relates to the overall bearing of the Nyy'xai because it gives them an air of knowing, like they know through the sureness of verifiable data kind of what having a sense of like the kind of map of the landscape of whatever it is that they're participating in, like they know where they're going, so to speak. And this relates to having a sense of sureness, because thereby it's going to give them that sense of sureness that comes from the knowing, and this is in contrast to the more natural state of being open-minded and relativistic, and basically a state that doesn't emphasize sureness. And this relates to the way the Nyy'xai conduct themselves overall, because basically this spirit form is about being dialed in on point when you know how things are and how they should be.
Cha-ching. All right, back to you, Ben.
All right.
How does high-stakes practice relate to performing rituals? How does this relate to the concept of promises? How does this relate to the concept of commitment? And how does this relate to appreciating things of importance?
Cool. The high-stakes priestess is also summoned when honoring special specific rituals of great value that the Nyy'xai has learned and adopted throughout their life. This also includes when the Nyy'xai use their Bai to stay true in remembering and honoring promises to others in good faith, even when what was promised is difficult to do. The high-stakes priestess allows the Nyy'xai to comprehend the scope and weight of total commitment, plus provides the resolve it takes to give it when those moments of truth present themselves. Researching and contemplating things of life and death importance, including life and death themselves, gives the Nyy'xai high-stakes priestess a very serious mindset, which is needed to make dreams into reality. The Nyy'xai high-stakes priestess is also very well suited for honoring and remembering rituals that the Nyy'xai has learned throughout their life and performing them. The Nyy'xai high-stakes priestess is also very well suited for promises, such as when the Nyy'xai perhaps makes a promise, remembering that promise and staying true to that promise as expected, and following through. The Nyy'xai high-stakes priestess is very well suited for that, allowing them to both store the promise and perform the follow-through. Similarly, the Nyy'xai high-stakes priestess is very well suited when it comes to commitment. A promise is essentially a form of commitment, but whenever there is any kind of commitment where the Nyy'xai needs to do something, the Nyy'xai can understand the weight of commitment and why it's important, the seriousness of it, and can follow through with it effectively using the Nyy'xai high-stakes priestess. When it comes to serious topics the Nyy'xai high stake priestess can help the Nyy'xai develop a very serious mindset when it comes to things like life and death and so forth.
Boom. Yeah, those concepts and also like the weight of commitment and so forth can shut down certain powers, particularly gather powers. But the worldview map powers like the Vi actually get empowered by commitment. They get empowered by making a promise. It gets them going.
Yeah, definitely.
Mitchell?
I relate to that myself with Nye. Like, there's like commitment. Like, it can. I mean, it's more Nye kind of interpretive, original,
Right.
revolutionary sort of seriousness. But it's
Still relate. No, it's still related. It feels good being on a purposeful mission that it is committed to.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, you don't know where you're going or how you're gonna get there, but you're like, I'm committed to this journey, wherever it
Yeah.
may lead me.
I'm committed to this vision quest.
Indeed.
Yeah.
In fact, it doesn't feel like the vision quest is like weighing you with expectation. It kind of feels like, what would I do if I didn't have that?
Yeah.
How to get out of bed in the morning?
It's tricky trying to figure out what it wants, though. Sometimes it's sort of like like this is a little area that needs to be gone into, and then it's sort of like, do I really need to go there? Can I just do this? No, you got to go there. It's all kinds of crazy, but in a good way.
It's like it kind of just expects you to sort of explode out into somewhere. Like, I mean, you don't know exactly what it is, but it's like you just kind of gotta go, out of.
And it needs you to figure it out. But that need
Yeah.
to figure it out and that like expectation of going forward, that it feels good. It gives you a lot of drive.
Yep.
Yeah. No matter what you do, it's related to the vision quest, and it's you learn from it so that you then figure out, what that means in the overall vision of things. Yeah. It's cool. You're really working on a case as an Alpha. I mean, it's just
And
the
their
case
way,
of this.
their way the Vi also work on cases. They come at different angles, but they do also. And that casework gives purpose and energy, whereas gatherers can actually like waking up already having casework that you need to do. It's like,
Like, I thought we were gonna go have fun, Yeah.
Oh, no, Mitchell, you're up.
No.
Oh, gotcha.
Sorry.
No, we're taking time. I just didn't know if you knew it was your turn.
Distracted for a second. Listen. Alright, so the high stakes priest or priestess relates to performing rituals because it is summoned when the Nyy'xai chooses to honor rituals of great value that they've learned in their life. Relates to promises as well because in this case the Nyy'xai are going to be using their Vi to remember and honor promises even when they involve things that may be difficult to do or may interrupt their more lighthearted activities. it relates to the concept of commitment because it lets them, it causes them to feel the kind of weight of the commitment instead of the more kind of buoyancy that they get from their knee, which that's not really what that's emphasizing. And it gives the resolve as well that the Nyy'xai needs to really follow through on the commitment as well by feeling that weight. And lastly, it relates to appreciating things of importance because it almost has like a almost like morbid-ish quality to it in the sense that it's contemplating issues of life and death, or it can of that level of importance basically, and contemplating and researching things of that level of importance puts the high-stakes priest or priestess into an extremely serious mindset, which they're going to need to fully make their dreams into a reality.
Boom. Glenn, take us home.
All right, so the high-stakes priestess is related to performing rituals because the Nyy'xai, they'll take on any sort of ritual that they've learned in their life, be it through tradition or being born into it, or anything that they personally identify with in some respect, and just to sort of like honor those traditions and those rituals as best as they can. This is related to their concept of promises and keeping promises and stuff, because the Nyy'xai, they may not necessarily be inclined to like remember promises, although if their Nyi and their Jai finds it interesting and important enough to want to do that, then they'll definitely do that. And promises, they're very much they require a level of being able to kind of like take seriously in a certain respect, and the Vi high stakes priestess really allows them to do that, despite how difficult it might be in order to pull off that promise, whatever it was that they promised that they would do. So the Vi high stakes priestess is very much related to taking something that was said and taking it very seriously in that respect. It's also related to the concept of commitment in general, because anytime you commit to anything, and committing to something means being able to see it through to the very end, wherever that may be, and that will lead a person down many different winding roads that go all over the place, and some of those areas are going to be very, very intense and very, very heavy, and will require that the Nyy'xai be able to handle the hard knock truths of what that whatever that is, as far as what they come across in their being committed to that thing, and it allows them to feel the weight of that very heavy, like heaviness of like being committed to something and seeing it through all the different struggles that they might go through. How does this relate to appreciating things of importance? Basically, the high stakes priestess is very much all about trying to make it so that the Nyy'xai takes their dreams and makes them into a kind of reality, because that's the kind of mindset that's required, very, very serious mindset that's required in order to do so. So even if it comes to sort of like researching topics of morbidity and stuff like that, even to want to like go in that direction and want to even think about stuff like that is difficult and requires a very serious nature. But the Nyy'xai can and is meant to be able to do that and do that really well, given their high stakes priestess spirit form, which helps them be able to do that. So yeah.
Yep.
Kind of all over the place there, but yeah.
Got it. Yeah, because kind of like thinking of like, what do you want to be written on your tombstone? That can be very motivating. You know what I mean? But for Nyy'xai neighbor, like, that's not something I think about a lot. But sometimes
they'll think that you're weird for even bringing that up. It's like, why are you even thinking that? But it's like, yeah, if you're really seriously natured, you think about things that are like way off in the future and very way distant.
It does give a certain kind of needed drive. All right, last one here. Mitchell will take lead. How does a high-stakes priestess relate to being aware of context? What kind of context tends to activate the high-stakes priestess the most? What activities does this stimulate the high-stakes priestess to want to be highly involved with?
Alright, the Nyy'xai High Stakes Priestess is notably aware of the notable, those things, moments, and people which are rare, precious opportunities. Nyy'xai in general have their Vi activate whenever anything arises that will go on their permanent record. The High Stakes Priest or Priestess is therefore highly involved with anything regarding the legacy and posterity of the Nyy'xai or the people and causes they are personally bonded to.
And notably aware of the notable.
Yeah, that's kind of cool. That does make sense.
Yeah, it reminds me of that song from Eminem. This is your one shot, one moment. Lose yourself. What was it? Yeah. Although Nyy'xai perspective.
Exactly.
I imagine school activates the Nyy'xai high stakes priestess a lot.
Sure, and definitely
Like,
test taking.
it's like because your record is like every day stuff goes on your record because you're grading on everything every day. School is
Also, probably gets tired of it.
like like in school, like the actual training portion, like where you're actually supposed to get better, you're graded on your training. Your homework is like training for the test, but that you're also graded on that. So it's like you're constantly being evaluated on at literally everything you do. So
That's intense.
Yeah, which is why you can't be committed to every single thing all the time. You have to be picky about the things that are important.
Yeah, what to fetish on, what to let go.
Alright, so the high stakes priest or priestess relates to being aware of context because it's going to notice things that are particularly notable, I guess. Things that whether you have a kind of rare, precious opportunity that could be lost, or has some really grave importance all of a sudden. Because it's sort of like a Nyy'xai thing together, they sort of notice it. And the kinds of contexts involved in activating the high stakes priest or priestess here are particularly when something is going to affect the permanent record of the Nyy'xai in some way, or the things that they relate to. And so the high stakes priestess in turn wants to be involved with things relating to the legacy and posterity of the Nyy'xai, or kind of people and causes that they're deeply affiliated with.
Good. Glenn?
All right, just one sec. All right, so the Nyy'xai High Stakes Priestess is notably aware of anything that's notable, basically. And this is related to their... this tends to activate most commonly or most often when it comes to any sort of opportunity that comes once in a lifetime or is very, very rare or special in some... and is like a very special occasion. Their Vi High Stakes Priestess will come online and take note of those moments in a very powerful, strong way, and want to cause the Nyy'xai to, conduct themselves or act in that kind of a manner, and take it upon themselves to want to approach it in that kind of a way. And this is, related to sort of like test taking or anything like that. Anything that's going to be on your permanent record is going to be something that the high stakes priestess is very, very is going to be very, aware of and conscious of. Like, this is something that's going to go down as something that's going to be remembered for, the rest of history. And so, understanding the weight of what that means and the seriousness of that, and approaching it in that kind of a manner, and not just kind of like brushing it off and not really giving it the sort of weight that it deserves. This naturally causes the Nyy'xai the high stakes priestess, spirit form of the Nyy'xai, to want to be highly involved with any sort of cause, any kind of, thing that they themselves are very strongly committed to, or they find very, very, very important, given their affiliations, either just because it's related to them and it's something that is important to them, or it's important to their friends or their family or whatever the case may be, and really want to just, do those kinds of activities and really give them the sort of proper context and proper weight that they deserve.
Yep, indeed. And especially in areas that relate to legacy, posterity, basically the permanent trajectory that those things will have. That really gets the high stakes creatures going. All right, Ben, you're up. Take it home.
Yeah.
All right. Oh, I don't have the
question?
yeah, I dropped out for a little bit because
Yeah,
my
so,
Wi-Fi signal for some reason loses
no worries.
connection.
Great to see it.
Yep, I got it. The Nyy'xai High Stakes Priestess is nobly aware of the notable, those things, those precious people, opportunities, places that are too important to ignore. The sort of stuff that tends to activate the Nyy'xai High Stakes Priestess the most are that of which goes on their permanent record. The Nyy'xai High Stakes Priestess is highly concerned or highly focused on the people, the Nyy'xai themselves, that when it comes to one's legacy, as well as the people and places or subjects that they care about that relate to their legacy and posterity. That makes sense.
It does. Alrighty, nice. Okay, so that wraps up High Stakes Priestess. We only have one more pitch to go. We're almost out of time here, so I'm thinking probably it's best to maybe pick up with that last pitch next time.
Okay, what are we going to do afterwards, Coach? After the beats have been completed, we're going to start working on other beats from other parts of the.
Yeah, from the Father Proclamation. So up next will be actually human math.
Cool. Nice. That should be really easy.
Yeah.
Did we want to do one more beat for the role of the first one maybe?
Yeah, because I was thinking, I guess if we wanted to stick with the principle of just doing as much as we can, we probably have time for one more beat.
All right. I like your guys' enthusiasm. Let's do that.
This way, it's like consistent. And it's like, because if otherwise it's like, oh, if we limit to like whole pitches, we end up doing less. I would say in general.
Yeah, that's cool.
Probably true.
We might run a little bit over the normal time though. So.
You got to go for one beat. Want to try one beat?
I'm cool with it if everyone else is.
I'm good.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see here.
There's this paragraph has the available problem again. It's like halfway down on the right side.
There's what?
Oh, there's basically when it says available, there's a vi is shaded in gray.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. So Glenn, you'll take lead. How do Nyy'xai relate to revolutions in general? How does the Mojo phenomenon discovery inform on this? What data is there to support these assertions? How does it relate to the specific revolution of pod layer theory?
All right, so Nyy'xai are well designed for the revolutions that come from new ideas, often favoring the most culturally impactful. The Mojo phenomenon discovery strongly implies that this role Nyy'xai play has evolved throughout all of human history to be in its current apex form. Modern media shows for a forensic fact that both Nyy'xai, the Nyy'xai and the Nyy'xai, have been instrumental in progressive humanistic ideological revolutions in every era with available media, going back over 50 years and over 12,000 samples. For the Polar Revolution, it will be no different, and the Nyy'xai will need to use their many special powers to get the message out about the greatest scientific and spiritual discovery in the history of humans, as well as to help make sense of its game-changing implications. All right, so when it comes to the revolutions, Nyy'xai are usually a part of them, and whenever they are of like any sort of new discovery and anything that has to do with any sort of like socially, cultural kind of bent to it, the Nyy'xai tend to be very, very strongly represented in those, along with the Nyy'xai. This is related to the Mojo phenomenon discovery because, like all revolutions, the Nyy'xai and the Nyy'xai are constantly involved in them to some degree, and this revolution is going to be no different as compared to all the other ones that came before it. So the Mojo phenomenon is one discovery that's going to be especially profound and impactful to the rest of humanity, given all of its implications and everything that has to do with what it's informing on, given the fact that Nyy'xai are the way that they are, and there's 16 different Mojos, and they all are a certain way in which they naturally get their energy, and they have a certain ranking with their powers and all that. The proof that basically we have goes back 50 years with over 12,000 samples that we've looked at, as far as like the forensic evidence that we've accumulated, and all of it basically, is there for anyone to look at, which basically shows and says that, the Nyy'xai and the Nyy'xai, when it comes to, revolutions of these kinds, they tend to be very, very strongly represented, and it basically helps to solidify the assertions that Podler makes as far as those claims go. This is related very strongly to the specific revolution of Podler, given that the Nyy'xai are going to be very strongly a part of it in the sense of getting the message out, making sure that it's it gets out there and people are know about it, as well as being able to help explain the many different aspects of how it all works and what it all means to the masses in whatever form is best to serve that end.
Oh, nice. Ben? Oh, and I updated the book. We're at over 20,000 samples.
20,000 samples, yeah. It goes back even more than 50 years too.
No, unfortunately, we still have kind of a cap on that due to video technology.
Right.
Although probably not probably, but as we keep going in the future, we can start saying more than 50 years as we gain more
Yeah.
years.
Yeah. 55 years.
Yeah, right.
Nyy'xai are well designed when it comes to revolutions, spreading new ideas, often favoring the most culturally impactful. The Mojo phenomenon strongly implies that this Nyy'xai role in the revolution has evolved all throughout human history into its current apex form. The data that supports this is the so far we've collected 20,000 samples of the Nyy'xais, and this data goes back over 50 years. And Nyy'xai have played major roles in revolutions and activism and so forth, and spreading culturally impactful revolutionary ideas has played a major role for both the Nyy'xais, using from that data we've collected. This will also apply to the revolution that Podlair is spreading. The Nyy'xai will need to use their special gifts and abilities to help spread the messages of Podlair, and also to help understand its implications.
Got it. Mitchell, take us home.
Okay. Look at this. Alright, so Nyy'xai relate to revolutions in general because they are well designed, in particular for revolutions that are brought about by new ideas, particularly those that are culturally impactful. The Mojo phenomenon discovery informs on this because it strongly implies that Nyy'xai have played this sort of revolutionary role throughout all of human history and to have reached its kind of current apex form. The data that supports these assertions is that we have lots and lots of samples of Nyy'xai and their inspirational partner, the Nyy'xai, over 20,000 samples, showing that they've been involved in backing progressive humanistic revolutions throughout human history up until now for the media that we have available. And it's going to be no different with the revolution related to Pod Lair, because the Nyy'xai are going to use their great abilities to get the message out about the greatest scientific and spiritual discovery in history of humans and making sense of its game-changing implications.
Bam! Slam dunk. All right. Nice job. We'll talk here just for a quick second afterwards. We'll say bye to the world right now. Bye, world.
Bye, world.
Bye bye.
We'll see you next time.